Hey there! Nobody wants to receive an email from a colleague that sounds bossy or rude, but it is possible to write an email like this without even knowing it in English. So today, I want to teach you 4 tips that will make your email writing kinder, and it will help you get what you'd like from the other person. Hi, I'm Phil. Thanks for joining me. I'm glad to teach a few tips to you today that I would teach my own students here in the Czech Republic at Maják. Tip number 1. Let's start with a simple request. You want a colleague to turn a report in. So you could write, "Turn your report in." Well, that's fine, but let's be a little more polite about it. We're likely to get a better response from someone when we're a little more polite. So we could write, "Could you turn your report in?" Or, "Would you mind turning your report in?" Sometimes you need an even bigger favor. You need something really special, maybe from your boss. For example, you need Friday off of work, but it's really last minute. You want to write, "Can I have Friday off?" But you know that doesn't sound super polite, and it probably isn't going to help you get what you want from your boss. And for bigger favors, we need to be more polite. And in English, being more polite often means adding more words to it to sound more polite. Let's try, "I was hoping I could have Friday off." Or, "I was wondering if I could have Friday off." Tip 2, suggestions. Now, at work, we want to be proactive and we want to offer something to our team, to our boss. We want to offer suggestions, but we want to do this in the right way and very politely. Maybe your boss wants John to lead a project, but you know that your colleague Brad would be better at this job. You could write, "It will be better to ask Brad." You could do that, but it's really direct, and that might not be the best way to offer your suggestion at work. So let's try this. "What about if we asked Brad?" Or, "Maybe we could ask Brad." Or for another project, you say, "We should wait. Now isn't the right time." Well, again, that's very direct. It's a good suggestion, but it's really direct. So let's try something a little more polite and a little more indirect. For example, "I think it might be a good idea to wait on this. Now might not be the right time." Tip number 3, refusing, declining, and rejecting. These can be tricky because they are automatically negative. They just sound negative. So on a team or in an office, you often want to reframe these in a way that sets them in a more positive light. So at work, you're working on a project and you just know the deadline is completely ridiculous. It's just impossible. And you want to write, "We can't do this in 3 days. We need more time." Okay, it's clear that you are rejecting, refusing. You're saying, "No, we need something different," but you're not doing it in a polite way. So what could we do to change this sentence? You could write, "I'm not sure if we can do this in 3 days. We might need more time." Yes, it's definitely less direct, but it also is going to sound less direct to your boss or to whomever you're sending this. So they might hear it in a better way, in a more positive way, and they might respond better to you because you were able to say it politely. You want to type in an email, "That's more than we're willing to pay." Okay, but let's soften it with, "I don't know if we want to pay that much." Phrasing it like this still gives your colleagues another opinion to think about before they make a final decision. And I know some of these might sound strange depending on what culture you come from. Some cultures are much more direct and some are much more indirect. But as you get to know English a little bit better, and as you use some of these in a work environment, you'll know what works best in your team and in the culture that you live in. You might even believe something is a bad approach to take. But don't say it like that. Say it, "I'm not sure if this is the best approach." It still gives everybody something to think about, but it frames it in a different way. Try to avoid using negative expressions like "bad" and "that won't work." Of course, there are times to use phrases like this, but when writing an email that you can't talk out with someone and explain, try to not use these super negative expressions until you have a chance to talk it out with someone. Okay, let's take a deeper moment with this vocabulary just for a second. Have you ever been called out on something in front of other people, by your boss or by another colleague, sitting in an office, a meeting room, it doesn't feel good. Many of us know what that feels like, and it is not great. This is a reason that this vocabulary is so important, because we need to learn this in English so that we can actually become a better team player in the office where we work or in the group we work with. We need to know how to write an appropriate email because that's so much of communication. Tip number 4, it's pointing out a mistake. Of course, this has to be done very delicately and carefully in a work environment, especially if it concerns your boss. Nobody wants to be shamed or criticized publicly in front of a group, especially your boss. So if you think that there is a problem with something, and maybe in an email you'd like to type, "There is a problem." Wait a second, don't do that. Try typing something like this. "It looks like there's a problem." Or maybe you need to explain to someone, "There is a problem with the invoice." Maybe there is. Soften it a little bit and try, "It seems that there's a problem with the invoice. Can you look at it again?" And even as you type, "Can you look at it again?" you could make this one step more polite and say, "Could you look at it again? Could you please look at it again?" In English, when we add just little words here and there, it makes it 1 or 2 steps more polite and a little bit easier to hear or to read. I hope this has given you some help and hope on your English journey and maybe a few more tools as you write emails. Have a great day.